For 65,000 years, one population stayed in the same land while every other human group on Earth kept moving. But when geneticists finally sequenced their ancient bones, the results revealed something far older than anyone in modern science was prepared to publish. The Aboriginal Australians carry a genetic signature so ancient that it predates almost every other living lineage on the planet. And the evidence comes directly from peer-reviewed studies. If you want the science behind human origins explained with real evidence, hit that subscribe button right now, because what comes next will change how you understand human history forever. Imagine standing on a coastline 65,000 years ago. The sea level is much lower than it is today. Massive ice sheets lock up so much water that what we now call Australia is connected to New Guinea, forming a single landmass that geologists call Sahul. A small group of modern humans, perhaps no more than a few hundred individuals, steps onto this shore for the first time. They have just completed one of the most remarkable maritime journeys in human history, crossing open ocean using watercraft we still cannot fully reconstruct. What they did not know is that their descendants would still be living on that same continent 65,000 years later, carrying genetic material that would one day stun the entire scientific community. In 2016, a landmark study published in the journal Nature changed everything we thought we knew about human migration. Researchers led by Esk Willerslev at the University of Copenhagen sequenced the complete genomes of 83 Aboriginal Australians and 25 Papuans. The findings were extraordinary. The data confirmed that Aboriginal Australians and Papuans share a common ancestor with all other non-African, but their lineage split from the rest of humanity around 58,000 years ago. Even more remarkably, the genetic evidence showed that once these populations arrived in Sahul, they remained isolated for tens of thousands of years. While Europeans, Asians, and other populations continued mixing, migrating, and replacing each other across continents, the Aboriginal Australians stayed put. They became, by every measurable genetic standard, the longest continuous population on planet Earth. The science here gets even more fascinating. Aboriginal Australian genomes contain a unique signature of Denisovan ancestry, an extinct human species whose remains were first discovered in a Siberian cave. While Europeans carry roughly 2% Neanderthal genetic material, Aboriginal Australians carry between 3 and 6% Denisovan ancestry, the highest concentration of any living population. This means their ancestors interbred with multiple archaic human species during their journey across Asia, preserving genetic information that exists nowhere else on Earth today. Each Aboriginal Australian alive today is essentially a walking archive of human evolution, carrying chapters of our species' story that have been erased from every other gene pool through tens of thousands of years of population replacement. Now let us talk about what this discovery means in economic and financial terms. The global genomic medicine market was valued at approximately $27 billion in 2023 and is projected to exceed $60 billion by 2030. Aboriginal Australian genetic data represents one of the most valuable untapped resources in this industry. Pharmaceutical companies have realized that isolated populations carry rare genetic variants that could unlock treatments for diseases ranging from diabetes to autoimmune disorders. This raises serious ethical and economic questions. Who owns this genetic information? How should indigenous communities be compensated when their genome contributes to billion-dollar drug discoveries? Australia has begun establishing legal frameworks to address this issue. The National Health and Medical Research Council now requires benefit-sharing agreements when researchers work with Aboriginal genetic samples. Companies like Illumina and 23andMe have invested heavily in population-specific genomic databases, recognizing that diversity in data directly translates to diversity in drug efficacy. The bioprospecting industry generates over $150 billion annually worldwide. Indigenous Australian communities are now negotiating royalty agreements that could deliver tens of millions of dollars in long-term revenue, transforming genetic heritage into one of the most valuable scientific assets of the 21st century. So what does all of this teach us? The Aboriginal Australians are not just the oldest continuous population on Earth. They are living evidence that human history is far deeper and far more interconnected than any textbook ever taught us. Their genome carries fragments of extinct human species. Their ancestors crossed oceans tens of thousands of years before any European set sail, and their genetic legacy now sits at the center of a multi-billion-dollar scientific revolution that is reshaping medicine itself across the globe. If this story made you see human history differently, then you belong on this channel. Every week, we break down the latest genetic discoveries with real peer-reviewed evidence, no clickbait, no speculation, just the science that is reshaping what it means to be human. Hit that subscribe button, ring the notification bell, and drop a comment telling us which ancient population you want us to investigate next. The truth about our species is buried in our genome, and we are only just beginning to read it together.